Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jana Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Tira Vanachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Kunja Bihari. Thank you, Ramapati Prabhu. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravikacharya Ashtotar Shri Śrīmad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Charya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravikacharya Ashtotar Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shamakun Arakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Tulsi Devi ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So today we'll be reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, 5th canto, chapter 14, text 10. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Kvachit sakrit avagata vishaya vaitatya swayam parabidhyanena vibhrangshita smritis tayaiva madhichitoya payang sthaneva vidhavati.
Should I read the synonyms? No? Okay. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. The conditioned soul sometimes personally appreciates the futility of sense enjoyment in the material world, and he sometimes considers material enjoyment to be full of miseries. However, due to his strong bodily conception, his memory is destroyed, and again he runs after material enjoyment, just as an animal runs after a mirage in the desert. Purport. The main disease in material life is the bodily conception. Being baffled again and again in material activity, the conditioned soul temporarily thinks of the futility of material enjoyment, but he again tries the same thing. By the association of devotees, a person may become convinced of the material futility, but he cannot give up his engagement, although he is very eager to return home, back to Godhead. Under these circumstances, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in everyone's heart, compassionately takes away all the material possessions of such a devotee. As stated in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10.88.8, yasyāham anugṛhṇāmi hariṣye tad-dhanaṁ śanaiḥ. Lord Krishna says that he takes away everything from the devotee whom he especially favors when that devotee is overly attached to material possessions. When everything is taken away, the devotee feels helpless and frustrated in society, friendship, and love. He feels that his family does not care for him any longer, and he therefore completely surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. This is a special favor granted by the Lord to a devotee who cannot fully surrender to the Lord due to a strong bodily conception. As explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 22:39, Ami Vigya e Murke Vishaya Kene Diba. The Lord understands the devotee who hesitates to engage in the Lord's service, not knowing whether he should again try to revive his material life. After repeated attempts and failures, he fully surrenders to the lotus feet of the Lord. The Lord then gives him directions, and attaining happiness, he forgets all material engagement. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnana Jana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Guru Parampara. The conditioned soul sometimes personally appreciates the futility of sense enjoyment in the material world, and he sometimes considers material enjoyment to be full of miseries. However, due to his strong bodily conception, his memory is destroyed, and again he runs after material enjoyment, just as an animal runs after a mirage in the desert. Balaram Prabhu, he gave a class, and he mentioned how there was a brahmachari. He would look out the window, and he's thinking, today's the day. Today's the day I'm going to leave. But coming from the outside, I was looking in, and I was thinking, today's the day. Today's the day I'm going to join the temple. So people that are inside, they want to go out, but people that have realized what's on the outside, they want to come in. They want to stay here. because I know what it's like to be on the outside. There's confusion, there's hypocrisy, there's chaos. People are exploitative, cheating, ill-behaved, and there's a lot of nonsense. So I wanted to join the temple because I knew there was something meaningful here. I knew I could dedicate my life to something that I was really convinced in. And I looked at the definition for futility, and it says pointlessness or uselessness. And Srila Prabhupada, he would chant this all the time. Puna punash charveta charvananam. Chewing the chewed. And it's the same old activities, but a different day. When I go out on book distribution, I would ask people, how's your day going? And they would tell me this, oh, you know, it's the same old thing. So then I would tell them, would you like to do something different? And I would introduce the books to them, and they would appreciate everything that I mentioned, and they would take a book. And I tell them, as they're walking away, you don't have to perform the same activities day and every day. Just like if I pour water in a gold cup, will the water taste different? What if I put it in a silver cup? Iron cup? No. The taste of water will not taste different just because the cup is made of different metals. And Srila Prabhupada, he would also describe the three different shackles: gold, iron, and silver. And people are thinking, because I have a gold shackle, I'm in a better position. But it's not a very good logic. In the Bhagavad Gita, it describes the three different modes, or a combination of the three: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And the whole world are doing these four things: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, but just in a different way, or as Srila Prabhupada would say, a polished way, a polished animal life. And in the translation, it talks about an animal that runs after a mirage in the desert. The animal chases after the mirage, and since there is no actual water, it eventually dies from thirst. And in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, it talks about a deer, a very special deer, and it lives in the Himalayas. This deer is called the musk deer. And the scent from colognes, perfumes, it comes from this deer actually. And this musk deer emanates a very strong fragrance from its navel glands. And the secretions are so intoxicating that the deer goes into the forest. It starts chasing after or looking for the source of the smell. But it doesn't know that the smell is coming from its own body. So it runs here and there, and then eventually falls down from exhaustion, and then a hunter captures it. It extracts all the secretions, and it sells it in the market. So similarly, that is the position of the conditioned souls. We are trying to look for happiness in the temporary material world. We're looking for it in a big bank account. We're looking for it in a wife or a husband. But we have no idea that real bliss comes from the spiritual world. And in India or in the Philippines, mangoes grow abundantly. Anyway, and the mango is called the king of fruits. And I remember my twin brother and I were very known in our village for having slingshots. And what would we do with our slingshots? We would shoot down mangoes from trees. And we would collect as much as we can, and we would bring it back to our little house or hut, and we would enjoy. Life was very simple. And we actually had a well. Like, you pump water to drink from, to wash your food. We grew our own vegetables, and we were not concerned with the latest fashion. And life was very simple. And so this reminds me of a story. There was a man looking at the reflection in the water. He saw a mango tree in the reflection. And he saw this juicy, ripe mango, and he tries to reach for it. And when he puts his hand in the water, all he gets is just a little bit of water. So he tries again, and then this time he gets straws in his hand. Straws. Or sometimes even a fish. So he waits for the water to remain still, and he says, the mango is right there. It's right there. So he tries to catch it again, and nothing. His hands are empty-handed. So what's wrong with this picture? There's no actual fruit. The tree is actually behind him. So all he needs to do is turn around. And the reflection doesn't mean that the mango doesn't exist. It just means he has to look for it or find it in the proper place. Similarly, this material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. And we are looking for happiness here and there, but no matter how hard we try, it ends in failure. Because at the time of death, our so-called happiness will be taken away. And Krishna says, Mrityu sarva hariṣye. I am all-devouring death. I take everything away. And when I first heard this, it was very sobering. And it was a nice reminder that we can't bring anything with us in our next life. No matter how hard or how successful we may become in this world, we can't bring anything with us. So there was a king who was very proud and arrogant. And this king, he was diagnosed with a terminal illness. And so he was given a certain amount of time to live. And this king, he had a friend who sold cloth. He was a cloth merchant. So the cloth merchant, he also passed away, and he had a son. So the son went to this king and said, my father is always losing this needle, and he needs it to sew his cloth. Can you bring it to him when you meet him in heaven? And the boy walked away. So the king was looking at this needle, and he was thinking of where to put it. Should he put it in his shirt pocket, in his bottom pocket, so he doesn't lose it? And after some time, he had a realization that he can't even bring a single insignificant needle with him in the next life. So this changed the view of the king. From that day on, he became more charitable. He was more friendly towards the people. He had a change of heart. And he continued to live in this remaining life in that fashion. Sometimes all is needed is a little reminder of the truth for a person to change. Just like when I go out on book distribution, I tell a lot of people this hard, cold truth, that all of us are going to die one day, and everything that we may possess, we don't bring anything with us. And so they like that reminder. And when I was reading Srila Prabhupada's books, it made sense. It made sense. And the answers to my questions were all there. I think many of us, before Krishna consciousness, we had long hair. I know Balaram Prabhu, Mukunda Charana Prabhu, and I also had long hair, and I had a long beard, believe it or not. And I told my family and friends, I'm not going to shave until I find the truth, no matter how long it takes. So I kept searching. I read different books, but something inside me was telling me this isn't the truth. So I kept searching and searching. And then my search ended here in Krishna consciousness. I had a cousin in the Philippines. She introduced me to Krishna consciousness, and she asked me to read Srila Prabhupada's books. And I did that, and from that day on, I was fully convinced. And then I shaved my beard, and then I cut my hair. And in Kali Yuga, there is so much anxiety. And in the purport today, the first sentence, Srila Prabhupada says, the main disease in material life is the bodily conception. The people in Kali Yuga, they judge others by what they have on in relation to the body. Where do they shop at? What clothes they have, what type of car they drive, what type of sport are they part of. I used to work in Coronado, and there was a yacht club. So the Coronado Yacht Club, they had a argument with the Chula Vista Yacht Club. It was nonsense. And I was just standing there thinking, you guys are fighting because, So what type of sport they are part of, what kind of phone you have, and what color hair you have on. So many different things. And in today, people have this, they like to dye their hair a different color. They want to stand out. Sometimes they'll have rainbow colors, sometimes they'll have purple, blue, like that. So they want to change the body because they're thinking, I am this body. And this is the propaganda in the material world. We are these bodies and we should dress, shape, and enjoy these bodies as much as possible. Therefore, there's a lot of hair and nail salons. Just like behind us, there's a nail salon. Gyms and malls that sell 80% clothing, because it has become a godless and atheistic civilization. Botox, plastic surgery, all of these are artificial and superficial expenses just to make this rotting bag of flesh attractive. And I like Vijay Prabhu's example. When he goes out on book distribution and he sees the body, he says, just imagine that without the flesh, you know. So then you won't be attracted to ladies and things like that. There you go. Yeah, the flesh is transparent. So this body is made out of urine, feces, worms, bones. It's not really attractive when you see it for what it really is. And the whole media is promoting you only have one life to live, so make the most of it. Therefore, they don't restrict anything. The amount of alcohol, how much people you sleep with. Actually, a lot of people, they take pride in that, you know. How much men or women have you slept with, and it's actually very degrading, and they're so proud of that. And I heard that sometimes the men, they will multiply it times 3, just to make themselves look very, you can say proud or good. Like someone will ask, how many women have you slept with? So the guy will say there's 3, but he'll times it 3. So I slept with 9 women. And he's very proud of that number. But they do not know that there is life after death, and there are consequences for our actions, and there is a witness to all our activities. That they don't know. And I was out on book distribution, and I told this Mataji that the sun and the moon are considered to be God's eyes, and that God is seated in the heart of everyone as a super soul. Krishna says, Aham atma guda kesha sarvabhutasya stitaha. I am the super soul, O Arjuna, seated in the hearts of all living entities. And her response was, wow, I should be very careful then with what I say and do. So she thanked me, and just this simple realization that all of our actions are taken into account makes one live his or her life with awareness. There was a gentleman, a very rich man. He purchased an expensive car. And as he was driving on the road, there was a little boy on the footpath. And this little boy, he threw a brick at his car, and it hit his car. And the owner of the car was very angry. He stopped, reversed, and he got out of his car and he reprimanded the little boy. And he was going to beat the boy. He was so angry because his brand new car was damaged. So he asked the little boy, why did you throw this brick? The little boy was in tears, and he said, I'm sorry. I didn't know any other way to get your attention, how to stop drivers from going. So the man asked, why did you want me to stop? The little boy pointed to the side of the road, and he said, my brother, that was wheelchair bound, had fallen down on the ground from an accident, and he could not pick him up by himself, and there was no one to help. So the man who was driving this expensive car was very touched. So he immediately went to help, and he didn't repair the dent on his car because he said, I should remember this dent. I should remember that there are other important things in my life, like me becoming helpful and valuable to others, and do something truly beneficial for others. When I ask people, why do you want to become a teacher? Why do you want to become a nurse, a doctor? They would tell me, I want to help people. So the tendency is there because we're compassionate by nature. And our life is not meant for just ourselves, but to help others. And we should prioritize and take the time to see what's really important in life. I was out on Sankirtan in La Jolla Cove. And I was explaining to this family that these books, they make you a better person. They help you to find spiritual happiness. And the little daughter, I was handing the books to the parents, and the little daughter, she took the books from me, and she said, I want to be a better person. So the daughter took the books, and then she told her mom, I want this book, I want these books. And she held on to the books tightly. I asked the family, is her name intelligent? And then they smiled, and then I said, you should change it, because she's making the right decisions. So even a small child can understand the importance of Srila Prabhupada's books. And before they left, the little girl said, these are going to be my favorite books. Yeah. I don't know, like 8 or 9 or something. Yeah. So the family smiled, and the father, he shook my hand. They appreciated our conversation, and they gave a donation, and then they were on their way. When we stop people, we should say something meaningful to them so they can leave with something to think about. Another example is, we hear this a lot, sorry, we're busy. So there was this group in La Jolla Cove, and I noticed one of them in the back, he was kind of slow, He didn't want to follow his friends. So I told him, a hamster on a wheel is also very busy, but where is he going? And this boy said, nowhere. So I showed him the set, and he took a set. He gave a donation, and he thanked me for stopping him. Because sometimes you need to tell people that their life is actually going nowhere. You may be traveling 1,000 miles, you may be paying $1,000 for your plane ticket, but where are you actually going in life? They don't have an answer. And here's another Sankirtan story. There was a group of 5 young kids, and I asked them, where are you guys from? And they said, we're from Maryland. So I told them, I need your help. And I gave each of them a set of 6 books, 6 set. And I told them, we need your help distributing these books far and wide, And all around the globe, we can change the hearts of everyone. So they said, really? We want to help. So they all took a set, and they gave a donation. And as they were walking away, I can hear them being excited to read the books and sharing it with others. So we're creating future book distributors. Yeah. And so Lord Krishna, he says that he takes everything away from the devotee whom he especially favors when the devotee is overly attached to material possessions. I remember before Krishna consciousness, I didn't have too many things, but I did collect a few, things. And when I became a devotee, I started giving things away. Before I moved into the temple, my brother, myself, my cousin, and my brother's girlfriend, we went to a swap meet. And we sold all of our shoes, clothing, all these junk TV. And we just wanted to get rid of them. So let's say, for example, this pair of shoes would cost $60. We would sell it for $20. And there were people running, rushing. And I was telling myself, wow, I'm glad I'm not one of these people, Because sometimes people, they over-collect, especially one of the most silliest things are baseball cards. And these baseball cards, sometimes they would cost thousands of dollars, So people would over-collect. And when Krishna favors a devotee that's trying to, you can say, go back to Krishna, he takes it away. And so I remember Dravida Prabhu's story, how he had an apartment, he had a job, and then Krishna started slowly taking away those things. And so when a devotee becomes serious, yes, Krishna does come and help us. And it says that when everything is taken away, the devotee feels helpless and frustrated in society, friendship, and love. I met one of my old high school friends yesterday in the Friendship Japanese garden. And I asked him, how are you? He said, I'm doing okay. And I said, what are you doing now? He said, I'm a security guard at this sewing place. And I asked him, are you happy? And he looked miserable. He was not happy. So he told me, I'm very happy, bro. So I looked at him and I said, oh, that's very nice. So he asked me, what have you been doing? So I told him I've been traveling. I went to Denver and then this and that. And so I told him I'm now a monk. And this person that I was speaking to, he was proud of his possessions. He was in the military. And he said he had a BMW, had a big king-size bed. Not only that, but he had a few $1,000s in his bank account, And in high school, this was pretty luxurious, So I asked him, where are you going to now? And he said, I'm going to go to the zoo by himself. And I said, why are you going to the zoo? He said, just to kill time. So I told him, you should read these books. And I invited him to the Krishna lounge. I don't know if he came. So anyway, so sometimes Krishna takes all of our possessions, and we should know that nothing belongs to us, actually. Everything is just for us to use in his service. When I was working in Coronado, it says he feels that his family does not care for him any longer, and he therefore completely surrenders unto the lowest feet of the Supreme Lord. Where I used to work at, you would see this a lot. Many of the elder generations, their family would just leave them there with nothing to do. And some of the parents, they would actually have a grudge with their children. This one lady, she said, I hate my daughter. She placed me here. She wants to take all my money. So I looked at her very, you can say, I felt sorry for her. And so when we go on book distribution, we remind them that nothing belongs to us, everything belongs to God. And when we use everything and not use it for Krishna's enjoyment, we're actually becoming thieves. Right? And a thief gets punished by the law. So they don't know that. And sometimes, I was on book distribution yesterday. And I met this family, and I asked them, where are you from? And they said, Idaho. And I said, really? What do you do in Idaho? And then one of them said, I'm an engineer. And then the wife, she was a doctor. So I said, wow, you guys are very fortunate. And they said, yes. So I asked them, do you know what makes you more fortunate? And they said, what? I said, take these books. So they said, what are these books? So I was explaining the set. I've been distributing the sets that have 6 books. So I told him it has a little bit of everything. There's a vegetarian cookbook. There's a book with the Beatles. And Vijay Prabhu, he's right. The older generation, when you mention the Beatles, they're attracted to it. I know who John Lennon is, George Harrison. So I told him these books, they'll help you not only in this life, but in your spiritual life. And I told him that these books, they're also helpful when your family is not around, when your friends are not around. These books, they become your best friend. Oops. And so they appreciate that. And yesterday, I was able to speak to this young lady. She was having a hard time with her relationship, like most things. So I told her, just remember that these relationships, they're temporary. And at the end, we can't bring our spouse or anyone with us. And so she looked at me and I said, it's true, isn't it? And she said, yeah. So I asked her, would you like to take these books? They'll help you in your struggles. So she took a book. She gave a donation. And then I invited her to the Krishna lounge. A lot of people, when we go out on books, they like hearing this from us. The information from Srila Prabhupada's books, they understand that it's true. And not many people will want to talk about death, but we deal with death because it's a reality. The body goes through different changes, and Srila Prabhupada says that the ultimate change is called death. When we change our body to the next. And I wanted to tell this other story. I was in Balboa Park, and I met this young boy. He was skateboarding. So I stopped him. And then he said, what are these books? So I told him, these books, they'll help you to become a superstar. And he said, why? And I said, because by the deeds that you perform, you're known for that. And he said, what do you mean? And I told him, Maharaj, he says, when people in the funeral, they don't talk about what the person had. They don't talk about how he had a nice Mercedes. They talk about what he did in life. Just like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he was known for his speech. He wanted a revolution. And nowhere did I hear that he had a big mansion, anything like that. So I told this young skater, I said, these books, they'll help you to become a better person, to help the world. And not only that, but they'll help you become a very famous skater. And then so he took the book, he gave a donation, and then I also gave him a Krishna Lounge card. Most of the people that we meet, they're from out of town. And so I tell them we need help distributing these books wherever you're from. And so I tell them, would you like to help? And they said, yeah, I'd like to help. And so when we go on book distribution, we meet so many nice people. And some of them, you never know what they'll do with those books. They may pass it on to their children. They may pass it to their other family members. And sometimes it can be sitting there. We've all heard stories of devotees becoming devotees by finding a book in the trash or in the things like that. And when we go out on book distribution, we should remember that Srila Prabhupada has given us these priceless jewels. And every time we give someone these books, their life is going to change, whether they know it or not. Okay, that's all I have. Is there any questions, comments?
Hare Krishna, I just want to let you know there is one question pending in the Zoom.
Okay.
So he's in the queue.
Thank you, Tapas. Joseph has a question.
Hello. Okay, my question is the three shackles, gold, silver, and iron. Yeah. Okay. The three shackles, gold, silver, and iron. You said there are shackles, so how can you be freed from those shackles if you have gold, silver, and abundance of iron?
Srila Prabhupada explains that it needs to take someone free to free you from those shackles. If someone is shackled himself, how can he release you? So a person that's free is like an example of bona fide spiritual teachers that comes down, things like that. And they give us the knowledge to break free from these illusions and attachment. And do you know what the three shackles represent? Okay. Well, gold means someone that's doing well in life. Iron is like not so good, and then silver is middle class. So people that think they're in a better status in life, they think they have a better life than someone who has iron shackles. But they're still, yeah. Did that help? Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Govardhana. Wonderful class. I got to hear it from the kitchen.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol. I was smiling because you were telling so many nice stories of people you meet and what they share with you when you're on Sankirtan. I was thinking of one time we were driving in Long Beach, and out of nowhere, all of a sudden you just go, man, people are zombies. So I'm wondering, what do you think, what did you see? Like we were driving through like downtown urban Long Beach, and all of a sudden just out of nowhere, you just, man, people are zombies.
They're like the Walking Dead. You know, they're always on their phone. They look miserable. They're just going to the restaurant. They're going to look for a place to eat. They're going to go to a bar. They're doing the same thing over and over again. And a zombie is someone that's walking, but there's no life to them. You know, so I see that a lot wherever we go. Downtown, whether it's La Jolla, Balboa Park, sometimes here at the harbor, which is Dimitri's favorite book distribution spot. So yeah. Yes, Dravida Prabhu.
Yeah, two things. One is I'm struck by how the Bhagavatam has these certain themes, and the verse I quoted last time from Prahlad Maharaj is very pertinent with today as well. And what is the verse of the day is that, notice that it says that he sometimes considers material enjoyment to be full of misery. So there's a kind of a realization there. Mm-hmm. But due to the strong bodily conception, his memory is destroyed. And that's where where lust covers your intelligence. And again, he runs after material enjoyment. And you quoted punakpuna charvita charvananam, and you said chewing the chewed. But there's also an important part, again and again chewing the chewed. So you're chewing the chewed, and you're not getting much taste out of it. You say, what am I doing that for? And then you go about your life, and you forget that, and again you do the same thing. And so this is also in this verse by Prahlad Maharaj, where he says, you may recall, kutrashisha shruti sakha. Now, what is the use of all these material desires? Someone comes to this conclusion. It's just hearing about it. Things that come, you hear about it, and, that's most of the enjoyment. The actual enjoyment is very minute. Then you remember it, and it's got the as mentioned in the this section also. It's like a mirage. It looks good. You get there, and it's gone. And then the body itself is so many diseases. How, is this a vehicle for enjoyment? You may come to that realization. But, as mentioned in the verse today, the kama-analam, the fire of lust, is so strong that even though one may be intelligent enough to understand this, again and again you run after the same thing. So the key element, the solution is you can't just come to the realization that the struggle for material happiness is futile. You have to be able to turn to Krishna consciousness and get another source of pleasure and satisfaction where you can give it up for good. And even as devotees, on the path, if you're not at the pure level, then this attraction of the material energy, which is very, very, can be strong. So we have to be vigilant.
Thank you.
One other thing. When I was, I think, about 13, I collected baseball cards. You mentioned this. And I had somehow I decided I'm not going to buy any baseball cards. I'm just going to flip, do this. And I was able to get a full set of baseball cards by that. I had the last card of Stan Musial, This was in 1965. And so then I went to college, on that September. And all my stuff was left at home. When I got back from in December from that first semester, my father had cleaned out my room and he threw away those baseball cards. And I was so upset, because I was so attached to that. I put so much into it. And later on, you learned how it would have been worth $50,000 to have a full set from 65. But you can see how just that one act, it just kept, I had this negative feeling toward my father, and it was the sign of, the problem with material attachment.
Someone from Zoom had a question. Okay, someone from Zoom had a question.
Yes, I have a question. May I?
Yes, please. Thank you, Vijay Krishna.
Govardhan Prabhu, thank you very much. You're very kind. My question is, if due to my strong bodily conception, my memory becomes destroyed, in what way should I use my body? Should I give it to the jackals?
No, you should live in such a way where you dedicate your mind, body, and words to serving Krishna, because he is the master of the senses. Hirikesha, what's that verse? Yeah, there you go. There you go. So we should use our body in the service of Krishna, and we actually become happy by doing that. When we try to serve the body, there's a limitation or a saturation point. But when we serve Krishna and when we realize this, it's ever increasing, like a nectar, ocean of nectar. So that's how you should use your body, Vijay Krishna Prabhu. And don't let anyone take the body, especially jackals.
Yes, I will follow your instructions, Prabhu, to the letter. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Vijay Krishna Prabhu.
You're welcome.
Okay. Grant Raj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.